Hey, how's it going, everybody? Junior with Jet Pedals here. We've got a very special guest with us today, Chris Rocha. Chris, how's it going today?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me over out here in Kansas City, hanging out with you all day, talking about pedals. I'm super excited.
Love it. So, Chris, we're here today to talk about MR JAX. It's your signature series pedal. It's the next release from Jet Pedals, next release from you, and this is your signature series overdrive / distortion. So why don't you tell me a little bit about MR JAX and where the idea came from?
So I kind of felt like it was kind of like my duty, in a sense, to put something out that I personally use. And I've been using this pedal. I haven't been talking a lot about it because you know how this stuff is. You got to wait for stuff. But I've been using it already. So people have been saying, dude, your sound's amazing. This lead's great. This tone is awesome. And this is exactly what I'm using. So I kind of wanted to put something out that kind of displays my exact tone and what I love to use.
So Chris, tell me a little bit about how it was to work with Jet Pedals, how you came about to find us. You know, you had clearly lots of options out there for unique pedal builders to build your sound, but what is it about Jet Pedals that drew you to us?
I specifically remember a time I went to Summer NAMM last year, and I work a whole lot with Musician Magazine. I was with those guys, Worship Musician Magazine. We went out to a gathering at my friend Javier's. He has a cafe shop, and we're out there. And I see you with like pedal boards, and you got all your stuff, right? So
Yep,
and a couple of my buddies that were there with me, they came back and they were like, "Bro, you gotta check out this one pedal, man! Oh my gosh, it sounds amazing." So I go, "All right, cool." When I go out there, I plug it up, and it was a revelation. And the second I hit a note, man, I was just like, this thing is high res audio. Like the ambience it was giving me was super pro. And then I remember you kind of going into some of the specifics, and you know, I'm real old school. You know, I don't know a whole lot about like all these different types of new functions and stuff that are out. So you kind of went into all this stuff, and I was just like, dude, that's crazy. The stuff you can do with this little pedal. And then I asked you the price point on that pedal, and it blew my head off. And I was like, that's no, like my particular industry, the Latin Christian industry, needs to know about your company, about what you're doing. So that kind of like, it imprinted something in me. And then I tried out the Lion and the Lamb, and everything that I tried out was just super good, man. And whenever I was kind of going through this process of who am I going to link up with to find what I want, you came to my head, and I was like, I gotta contact Junior. I reached out to Worship Musician Magazine. They gave me your contact, and I talked to you. And right away, I felt like it was like, okay, yeah, we could probably work on something. Let's talk more. Awesome. So right when I got that first prototype you sent to me, man, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to push. This is exactly what I want.
So let's dive a little deeper. What exactly is your tone? Kind of give me a little bit on this, maybe some specific pedals you've used in the past, and then we can talk a little bit about how we achieve that here at Jet.
Yeah, so about, I want to say 15 years ago, I got into this one pedal referred to me by a buddy that I loved his sound. And the second I plugged it in, I felt connected with it. And it's called the Hot Cake pedal. A lot of people know me by this Hot Cake pedal. I mean, seriously, I must have gotten at least 50 to 100 people to buy this pedal within a couple years span because it worked so well for me. So throughout the years, I've been like experimenting with other stuff. And what I wanted to do was, maybe get like the circuit or whatever from the board, from the Hot Cake, and then modify it with other types of tones and stuff that I've run across through the years. So that's where you came in. Okay. I wanted to reach out to you, and I said, bro, let's put our heads together. Let's come out with a pedal that gives me what I want now. So that's where this came.
Yeah, Chris, so you mentioned the Hot Cake, right? So what makes the Hot Cake unique is that it uses op amp for the clipping. Normally, overdrive, distortions, if they're using op amps, they just use it to boost your level, and then they'll clip it with diodes one way or another. So that's what makes the Hot Cake unique. So I definitely wanted to keep that core sound that makes it, your signature sound. But, you really had some advice back from me on the frequencies you wanted to hear, and you wanted the input stage to be a little different. So what we did is we kept the op amp clipping as the core tone, but then we put a JFET boost in front of it, which gives it a nice warm tube-like input stage. And then after the op amp, then we use a different tone stack. And what that tone stack does is it allows you to get more or less bass, more or less treble. But how that works with the actual sine wave that's getting clipped is if you turn less treble down, you can actually get a decent overdrive sound out of this. And then as your treble goes up, you get more very hard clipping distortion. So kind of our jet spin on it is we've given it a little bit more of a universal feel than just more of like a one-trick pony. And then of course at Jet, we want to take everything to the next level, and we want to be able to make sure it's usable on the fly. So what we've done is we've given us nice soft click switching so that pedal engages with soft click switches. And then, you know, we wanted to offer what we call gain staging. So if you turn the gain knob counterclockwise all the way, when the white LED is on, you're at 25% gain. Now just do a long press, and when you let go, cyan means it's going to be 50% gain. Another long press, purple becomes 75% gain, and then the final long press takes you to 100% gain, which is the red LED. Now it's not always ideal to go right from red 100% down to 25%. So another cool feature that we put into the pedal is when the pedal's off, you just finished the solo or the bridge, wherever your loudest gain stage is, you can cue up the next gain stage that you want to turn on when the pedal comes back on. So when the pedal's off, it's the same process. You just do a long press, and now you'll notice the LED is flashing. So it's telling you that it's in blue, so 50% is queued up right now. Again, we can do that again and take it up to 75%, and then as soon as the pedal's engaged, you're going to be at 75% instead of having to hear those gain stages jump through all the time.
So one thing that I thought was super cool is that, you know, I am old school, like I said earlier. I like stuff like in the fly, I'll bend over in the middle of a set and mess with stuff, but it's kind of annoying, you know? So I like that you kind of, you came to me and you're like, let me put a spin on this. Let's modernize this. And I love that you can do all that stuff, man, with the pedal. You know, you can cue it up. You can get the exact tone you want without having to bend over and mess with the gain. Just like step on it and put whatever, and everything's like related to colors, you know? So it's kind of like this new modern added stuff to this one, like, you know, overdrive distortion type pedal. And I think that's it's kind of like the jet, like you said, it's the jet spin that you're putting on the pedal. It's the jet way.
It's the jet way. Well, I appreciate that, Chris. All right, well, how about this? No more talking. Let's hear what this thing sounds like. Chris, why don't you show us what your signature sound sounds like?
Yeah, man. So right there, I have the gain pretty hot. I like when you really push this pedal. It gives you like, what's really cool is it gives you a thick tone and strong tone without a whole lot of noise. And that was one of the things that I really liked about that Hot Cake. And you don't really find that with other pedals. You know, I'll play other lead distortion pedals, and as soon as you kick it on, it's like all this noise, and it gets kind of annoying. So this pedal gives you a lot of output and not a whole lot of noise. Yeah. So I like that. The tone is pretty thick. And the best part about this is if you're in a song and you need something to stick out, you want your lead to cut through the mix and to have that like really aggressive, but at the same time smooth sound. This is what you want. Yeah,
I agree. And you've even got the tone knob turned down quite a bit. You know, even more you're going to cut through for sure in a total band mix. You're going to cut through pretty well. Okay, well let's take a look and see if we can get more of a subtle overdrive out of this pedal. Let's dial that gain back a little bit and see what we can come up with. Yeah, that sounds great. I think that's a very convincing distortion and an overdrive pedal in one. Where you've got the pedal set up is about approximately here, and this is about the equivalent of our 25% gain stage. So we've tuned it to be, and now every guitar is going to be different. You know, some pickups are going to be hotter than others, but from what we've tested it on, obviously some Gretsches and some Strats and a few other things, that 25% setting for me gets you right at that edge of breakup tone. So if you're running into a clean amp like the Fender, you know, something very versatile here. That 25% gives you that nice edge of breakup tone. You can dig in or you can play quietly and it cleans up pretty well too. All right, now let's hear another sound here. This is the Mr. Jax set at about 50%. I'm talking about gain staging. This is the gain knob straight up at noon. I would call it a thicker, heavier overdrive. It's probably just before it really starts getting into distortion territory. But let's see how versatile the pedal is even further. Let's play some nice chunky chords, things like that. And then let's roll that volume back and see how the Jax cleans up. Very nice. I'd say it cleans up pretty well.
What's super cool about this too is that I, like a lot of modern guitar players, they'll have a pedal, but then they also start to run other drives into that pedal. So what I'll do is sometimes I'll have like my overdrive, the Valiente overdrive, and I'll push that into this pedal, and it just makes it sound all the more thicker and more aggressive, and it handles that really well. Not a lot of, you can't do that with a whole lot of pedals, but you can definitely do that with this pedal. So I got a little bit of delay because I wanted to kind of give you guys a real-time tone within how I use it. That's all I have. I have no reverb, no nothing on here. But if you want to run drives into this drive, it sounds amazing.
Okay, so here is the Mr. Jax by itself. No overdrive boosting in front of it, just the Jax. Now with the overdrive.
That's cool, because what I did there, and the thing is that if you notice when you heard the Mr. Jax by itself, I went down on the gain just because I kind of already knew that when I kicked in the overdrive into it, it was going to boost the gain already. So when you use two different pedals, you kind of like, you modify what's going on there. That way they can work together better.
All right, so earlier, Chris brought up the use of the Revelation when he first met us at Summer NAMM. So let's hear some ambient tones. We've thrown a Revelation on the board here, and let's dive up some thick lead tones and run that right into the Revelation to get some ambient sounds.
Wow, man, it's so cool because the Mr. Jax really gives you that really aggressive sound, but obviously you can't play too strong or too busy because the reverb is there, so you have to balance that out. Yeah. But when you mix it in with like a Revelation like that, where you get that really thick ambient mixed in with the really thick aggressive lead tone, man, that's exactly what you want.
Sounds killer. I like it.
Amazing.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much for showing us all the versatility of the Mr. Jax. I love having the opportunity to work with you on this pedal. But before we go, there's one last thing we need to talk about, and the name, Mr. Jax. You may notice that it doesn't follow the naming convention from Jet Pedals. That's because this isn't really my idea for a pedal. This is your pedal, your signature series pedal. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where Mr. Jax comes from?
And Mr. Jax is a pretty weird name, right? Pretty peculiar name for a pedal. And I'm really bad with names, man. When I have to think of a name for a product or something, it takes me months to just think of something that I like. But what I wanted to do, keep this, personal, right? I have a son, and his name is Jax. And Jax has a story behind him. When my wife was 11 weeks pregnant, we had a situation happen at the house. I was at home producing like I always am at nighttime. And then I hear my wife scream my name, Chris. It was a horrible sound. I hit stop. I went out to the hallway and I see her lying on the ground. She had a situation happen. We thought she was having a miscarriage. Immediately, I picked her up. We had a house. We were in the second floor. We went down. I put her in the car, rushed ourselves to the hospital. And about, I want to say 7 to 8 hours later, we're just sitting there in the hospital all night as she's continuing to go through this whole horrible situation. And you know, you have faith, and we were praying, God, please help us in the situation, heal my wife, my son, you know, but the reality of the situation, you see what's happening, and you hear the stories, and you know the way stuff works, and you know, anyways, about 7 8 hours later, they gave her an ultrasound, and sure enough, my son is still there. So it was a crazy situation. She was put on bed rest basically the entirety of her pregnancy. Sure enough, my little son's born. He's my little miracle son. So I wanted to name this pedal Mr. JAX for that.
What a blessing. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. That's actually the first time I've heard the story right here on camera. So that's amazing. Well, let's close up. I want to tell you a little bit about when the pedal is going to be available. We're going to launch Mr. JAX on May 6th. You'll be able to find it at Chris Rocha's website. You'll be able to find it at jetpedals.com. Go ahead and follow us on social media. All of our social profiles will be co-announcing all of our release and important updates. There's talk about a live stream update, a release of the pedal and sound. So some cool stuff you may want to catch as we go along. I do know that Chris is going to be going on tour here pretty soon in the summer, and he's going to be taking a batch of the Mr. JAX with him. So if you see him in person, you can definitely go out and grab one of those right from the source, from Chris personally. So Chris, I thank you for the opportunity to allow us to work with you on this project. It's been a great time. I've had a blast doing it. And why don't you go ahead and take us out with some sounds? Let's hear a little bit more of that signature sound.